Well, it's 3 o'clock. So I'd like to tap into my German heritage and get started on time. Where to start? I am feeling privileged to have been part of an intense Monday. As a gentle reminder to us all, the theme of this year's Teaching and Learning Week is, Tyler? Synergy. There we go. Is it on the board? No. It's synergy. Excellent. It's synergy. And I can feel the synergy in the room already. I'll be talking about, I call our presenters the Eagles, the UQ Eagles, and I'll tell you in a moment why. But I feel the energy, the energy and the synergy coming from the Eagles. But synergy can mean a tremendous amount of things to different people. My interpretation of synergy today is to understand the different units we have at UQ who are in essence pursuing a similar or perhaps the same outcomes for our students. And what we're doing here today is to get them into the same room so they can listen to each other, talk about what they do and why they do it and why they do it so well. And from that, the hope and anticipation is that we'll continue to grow as units and as a university in this space I'd like to call internationalizing higher education. Okay. Now, Don, I'm going to do the unthinkable and click the next button. Let's see. In fact, yes, it's working. Okay. Before I go any further, a very sincere acknowledgement to quite a few people. The learning today has been tremendous, right? I mean, we all see what's here in front of us. University of Queensland acknowledges the traditional owners on the lands on which we meet, either right here or on the lands that you're joining us from virtually. We pay our respects to their ancestors and their descendants who continue cultural and spiritual connection to country, and we certainly wish to acknowledge their ongoing contributions to Australian as well as global society. Next slide. Let's have a look. Stop working on me. There we go. Okay, was that me or you? Okay, fantastic. So a question. You certainly are not here to listen to me. A question. As of today, right now, how many people are living on this planet? I take guesses. Now, this is what you have to talk to me, Fee. How many people live on planet Earth right now? I love the face. Yeah. Just take a stab. At least 10, that much we know. Okay, I'll come back to you, Tyler. A wild guess. Anyone online, please type it in the chat. Don will tell us. It's a tricky one. 2.2 billion. Love it. Ashley, any ideas? So we got from 10, 2.2 billion. Love it. Angie? Oh, you were here this morning. Do you know? You were here this morning. 8 billion. 10. 9. Love it. So we've got quite a range here. The supposed correct answer, according to the almighty internet, is somewhere in the vicinity of 8 billion, 67 million and a little bit more. So quite a tremendous amount of people living on Earth here. Quite some opportunities to perhaps build, not just energy, synergy to solve our worldly problems. And we know there are many. Don, this is not working for me. My next slide, please. There we go. Thank you. Okay, now this 8 billion number doesn't work for me. My brain does not comprehend. I wish my bank account looked like that, but it doesn't. So I do not understand it. Let me take it down to 100 people. If 100 people lived on planet Earth, what would the population of each continent look like, approximately? So we're looking for this to add up to 100. North America, how many people you think out of 100 live in North America? Fee, back to you. Our audience is slim. Is there anything happening online? Don't just yell it out. Out of 100. Coming back to you. 30. Love it. Emma. 30, 20. Okay, I'll give you 5. Only 5 out of 100 would live in, that North America. So that's Canada, United States, and Mexico. Now, gave away the second answer. So we're looking at about 9 in Latin America, which encompasses South America and the Caribbean. How about Europe? Any wild guesses? Popcorn it out. 3, love it. A little bit more, about 10. So more than in Latin American region. How about Africa, which, as I said earlier this morning, is that big blob of land that it's maybe except for South Africa, we kind of ignore because we're not sure what it means. We don't understand very much, what it's all about. How about Africa? How many people? 30, looking at 16. So what does that leave for, hi Karen, greater parts of Asia? Also 30, 60. Karen, you were here this morning. So that's roughly 60. And if we've got any quick mathematicians here, what does that leave for Australia? Just about 1, right? Actually, less than 1. So we'd be cut off right about here. Phenomenal. Oh, by the way, what we're looking at is that these people, us, the world's population is speaking a number of different languages, which we know, but look at the makeup of it. Most of us would speak Mandarin, followed by Spanish, followed by English, and the rest, kind of goes on from there. So what we're saying here is that our students, our soon-to-be graduates, are in fact going to interact with, or already interacting with, and will continue to interact with and work with people from Australia, right? Who live in Australia from all kinds of different backgrounds, full stop. But they're statistically actually more likely to work with people who are not from this continent, right? And they're going to engage with people whose primary language is not English. It'll be Mandarin or Spanish or any of the other multiple languages that we have here. So when I say work, I mean work arrangements. Global work is arranged in 3 different ways, okay? We do our global domestic work right here, co-located physically here, working with many people from many different backgrounds. Most of us may have lived in different places across our lifetime, and you could confirm the statement that Australia is quite special in that we are quite a multicultural country. And I've been here for 12 years now. I often take that for granted. It looks different to the life that I led in Southeast United States, or when I used to live in Germany. The diversity is quite different. I think this is something quite exciting. Our students who are studying here and who will be engaging in global work will be in this context as well. Are we preparing them for it? If so, how? I know we are. It's a matter of how and how well we do that. Global virtual work is the other one. We sometimes have a love-hate relationship with that, but we have to do it. Are we preparing our students to work with culturally different people, whether they live here in Australia or abroad, right? Do we do that? Do we do that well? Do we do enough of that? And my favorite is that international relocation element of it, where some of our students, our graduates, are actually going to pack their suitcase. I brought some suitcases here today just to hone on in the idea. They're going to pack that suitcase and they're going to live and work abroad for however long. Could be 3 months. They could be commuters, live in Paris, work in London kind of thing, or start a new life somewhere else and never even return home. Are our students courageous enough right now and curious enough right now to say, hey, why not? Yeah, why not? So it's almost your turn, Dina, so get ready. The question that I need all of us to walk out this door with is this one here. I'll read it word for word to let that sink in. What is our UQ's unique collection of what I call global learning experiences? And there'll be plenty of those that we hear about today that actually make our graduates able to leverage their UQ passport, their graduation certificate, right, in a global marketplace. What is that collection? Do we know what it is? Do we use it in our own classrooms? Do we see the value in it? And what might the next 10 years look like for us when we answer that question? So the UQ Eagles. We have the UQ Eagles here today. Why Eagles? Well, Eagles have a very particular span of view. They can rotate their heads about 270 degrees. So not a full circle view, but quite a much larger view than I can ever dream of having. And because they're working quite intensively and have for some time in their units, they have this viewpoint that perhaps none of us have, but we can all benefit from hearing about that today. In case you've not met me yet, or you're listening to this later, wondering who is the speaker right now, I am with the business school. I'm a teaching and research academic. I teach international human resource management at both the undergraduate and postgraduate levels. And I'm quite intrigued by the idea of developing our students to become global citizens who are capable in a number of ways, culturally, linguistically, communication, you name it. Have a look at the graduate attributes. It probably falls across all of them. So up next, very soon, we have Dr. Dina Willocks, Director of Student Employability, and they will speak to us about what particularly the Global Experiences branch has to offer. So if you've never heard of that branch, you're in the right place. Next, we have Tamra Weisflog. Yeah? That would be my German pronunciation, and you can tell the audience later how you would like it to be pronounced. Manager of Global Strategy and Partnerships. And we have Mr. Nimrod Kleiman, who is the head of entrepreneurship at UQ, but who's specifically here today to talk to us about the UQ Adventures series, phenomenal program that opens up heaps of opportunities for our students. And we also have Emma Dawson from Alumni and Community. So she's the manager of the International Alumni Engagement Branch, and she'll be speaking to us about what our alumni base looks like and how we can perhaps reach out to that base to say, hey, how can you help us now elevate our current curriculum so it opens up a world of opportunities for our next generation of graduates? Oh, there we go. Everyone gets a photo. Michaeli might join us perhaps later on after her commitment. Okay, over to you, Dina. This is it. Thank you very much.
Do I need the clicky thing?
Thank
you. So I liked how you talked about eagles and turning your head, because I was thinking of wingspan. Because if I just explain very briefly, the portfolio of activities that I'm responsible for starts with the widening participation space, so increasing non-traditional entrance to university, and I work really closely with the future students to do that. So widening participation, you might have heard of the Young Achievers, stuff like that. And what we do in that space is make sure that people understand the value of their lived experience and how they can unlock that value. Then when students get here, we talk about experiential learning when they're here, and we help them get involved in a whole range of different experiences from which they can learn. There's a running theme here. We also look after the career development learning space, so helping them then articulate the value that they have gleaned from those experiences and the learning from that, to then connect in with alumni to say, okay, how can we get you connected with industry and into the workplace and continue that relationship with UQ all the way through. So I was thinking of eagles like a wingspan. But, you know, so to explain very briefly as well, employability is, this is the definition of employability at UQ, a set of capabilities, personal attributes that empower graduates to perform effectively in the workplace, generate opportunities, that's for you, Nimrod, and create positive social and economic impact. So that's what we mean by employability. Now, nowhere in there does it say get a job. Nowhere in there does it say a collection of skills. What it does say, to me, when I look at that, is there's a whole bunch of learning that underpins that. And the reason that I've put this up is because this is something that everybody who speaks after me will kind of be alluding to. This is the basis. This is the experiential learning piece that underpins that employability development. And it's in the curricular, co-curricular and extracurricular spaces. So the programs that we look after within the unit that I'm responsible for are in the curricular space, so work integrated learning, exchange, global exchange, which is one of the things that I'll talk about. Also in the co-curricular space, so aligned with the studies that you're doing and connected to those things. So maybe work experience, which isn't for credit, but is connected, and that can be global, virtual, or domestic. And also extracurricular. So we get involved in things outside of the curriculum completely. So nothing to do with what you're studying, but getting you to reflect on and learn from those experiences. So being involved in clubs and societies, being involved in student politics, being involved in Dungeons and Dragons, which I am, being involved in a music group or whatever. So what we try and do is make sure that everyone can reflect on and learn from their experiences. Does that make sense? And that's how they can then develop those capabilities, those mindsets, those ways of being. From a student lens, what does that look like? Right from the start, an experience. You have to have an experience first. What we then do is help them reflect on and learn from that experience. And very often in the extracurricular space, people don't necessarily know when and how learning is happening. So we have this SEAL methodology, which we co-created with students, which looks at when you had a visceral response to a moment, when you were excited, when you were nervous, when you were scared, to identify that that's when learning is happening. So then we help them actually reflect on and learn from those experiences. And I was involved in the storying session that Tracy Bunder ran just before, about storying and reflecting on the feeling that actually helps you learn from those experiences. That's a very personal experience. Don't share that with other people. It's personal. That's your learning. Then we help understand what the value of that is and how to unlock that value and then articulate it. And that's the bit where you talk to other people about what I learned from this experience and what I can add to you, what my value proposition is for you, how you want me to be part of your organization, and then bring it to life. So that is the journey from a student perspective that we take them through. So you've got the definition. Very important to say, what are we trying to do here? You've got a process here of helping students walk through those experiences and unlock the value of them and articulate them. In terms of how this connects into graduate attributes, I've just put those up there because these are the new graduate attributes, which is what we're all here for. And really the two main areas, I mean, any kind of global experience is going to necessarily develop all of these capabilities, all of these attributes. But really, you're kind of looking at that connected citizens first and foremost, and also to a certain extent that culturally capable, because that reflection on your experiences and your connections with other people allows you to think, what have I learned from, with, and through those connections? So those are kind of the main two, but all of the other ones make sense as well. You know, influential communicators, you were talking about language earlier. Courageous thinkers, thinking, I'm going to actually go and do this thing, being scary. Also respectful leaders, because you always are leading, whether you intend to or not. You're always involved in leadership. So what I've been asked to just point out, for those of you who don't know, in terms of what is available within that wingspan of my portfolio, these global experiences and the global experiences that we'll talk about here. Importantly, the area that I kind of look after is always already in partnership with everyone across the university. So it's not that this is all that's available. This just happens to be some bits that I'm involved in, but I'm involved in making sure people know that Ventures is there. We work really closely with Tamara in terms of the New Colombo plan and the connections with that. We work really closely with our partnership providers. So Brett, Lovegrove, making sure that we have partners for these things. But the three main areas is semester-based exchange. So that's either one semester or 2 semesters abroad. For credit, you basically do a swap. You're basically studying another university globally. The short-term experiences we started developing in 2015 because semester-based exchange, you've got to have cultural capital, social capital, the ability to move and travel, and you need to not have some kind of caring responsibilities that you're just going to leave behind when you go. So the short-term experiences are between 4 and 6 weeks, and you can actually go, 2 to 8 weeks. That's the last time I looked at that. 2 to 8 weeks, but it allows people to have short, sharp global experiences. It allows you still to do things in person, but we also have some virtual options. And again, thinking about those different ways of connecting globally, the virtual can be just as empowering and engaging as an in-person. Personally, I prefer the in-person because you get that feeling of being there and those kind of interactions that are tangential and accidental and kind of feeling dissonance in a different place. And that's a learning, an important learning aspect. And then finally, we have internships, which can be domestic or global or in person. Domestic and global or in person and virtual, if that makes sense. There's a whole kind of mix of them. Some of the ones that actually are particularly, lots of people like them are the internships at the embassies in Canberra and Sydney. So those are the kind of main ones that we have. The connection points there, basically I get at uq.edu.au if you want to know anything about it. We've got a couple of websites there that have all that information, but that's the bit that I was talking about. This is a little quote from a student because it's always best to speak to students about why this matters. I'm not going to read it all because there's too many words and I don't like reading out loud. But what you can see there is somebody saying, I had an experience from which I learned a lot about myself. And now I can articulate the value of that experience and I can actually do something with it that I couldn't have done before. So that's what we do. And that's it.
Perfect. Time management too. Yeah. You were up next.
Oh, yes.
I can do it for you if you want. I don't mind.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Tam, or Tamara Weisflog. I'm Manager Strategy and Partnerships within the Broad Global Partnerships Division, and it's my pleasure to present this afternoon. So within our global partnerships team, we've got 4 wonderful areas, and that commences international development, or ID, and they're all about capacity building, capacity development, and global development. So there's a lot of international funding that the head of ID does apply for, funds, runs and delivers projects in Australia and abroad. My unit, Global Strategy and Partnerships, so we manage globally the international partnerships and write strategy for the university, which is very exciting. We have Sponsored Students Unit, SSU, headed by Johan, and they manage all our wonderful international sponsored students from around the world. Some of our largest sponsors that you may have heard of are SACM from Saudi Arabia, Australia Awards, and there's a number of smaller sponsors, and as well as the UQ sponsored students as well. And the final and very, very awesome member of GP is Intelligence and Engagement. That particular area runs and manages all of our international incoming visits, delegations and events. And they've had an enormous year, so hats off to them. They support our unit tremendously. So there's a range of global learning experiences for students and staff, but particularly for students, it starts from our area. We work, as Dino's already mentioned, very closely with faculties, different areas such as IGET, such as Ventures, to offer a plethora of opportunities for students, and that ranges from mobility, so from coursework as well as PhD mobility. There's a number of agreements with funding. Some have funding scholarships attached to them as well. We offer and support double degree programs. There's a lot between Europe, for example, joint PhD programs with India and the UK with Exeter. We've got a number of research projects, for example, with the Technical University of Munich, which is a big engineering collaborative project, which has enormous funding attached for PhD students and researchers. And we provide a lot of student support, engagement activities, pastoral care, and there's funding. So there's a number of priority areas that are linked to all of the global experiences, which I've touched on. And an interesting point that global partnerships are undertaking and has been a big scoping study is for T&E, where we will set up the T&E, the first case example, and it's looking like it's down to 3 determining countries. So watch this space. So what you see on the screen is our Global Engagement Framework, the GEF for short. This particular plan was approved last December by our Vice-Chancellor, and this was following extensive internal feedback and considerations with the internal UQ stakeholders, faculties, divisions, areas. So what it is, it's broken down region and country. There's 7 key focus countries that we have across the university. We have a range of different partners. We have everything from premier strategic partners, which are our top priority, which link with a lot of the time the strategic focus countries, down to exchange partners, and they're ranked by different types of partners and our level of engagement, which is beyond exchange. And then we have community. So staff, this was a very interesting question. How can staff become involved? So there is a few areas that perhaps are not very well promoted or maybe understood across the university, because there's a lot going on. One of the first is the staff mobility. So for professional staff, as well as research academics, we offer a range of staff mobility opportunities. Some are funded, for example, Erasmus Plus. It's funded by some of our international partners. For example, QEX, the University of Exeter. There will be opportunities from next year further with Technical University of Munich. And there are other opportunities to go abroad from as little as 1 week to 2 weeks, up to a lengthy period if beyond the 2-week period your division can fund. But there's opportunities to go abroad and do research, to do joint teaching opportunities. And yeah, it's a plethora. Wherever your interests are, if you have the drive to shadow someone, to learn about, best practices, we're very supportive of having a conversation with you and to help you with your application for a staff development program. We've got a number of funding sources. I've mentioned already QEX. QEX is one of our flagship partners. We have the Technical University of Munich. We have Erasmus Plus and Mobilities. Erasmus is a European mobility program, so it funds generally short-term staff mobility, or in some cases student mobility for double degree programs or PhD collaborations as well. Additionally, we have our GSP seed funding for research projects, new initiatives, new symposiums, but it must be with an existing UQ partner, and we're very happy to help here. Student mobility, we'd love to highlight the NCP scholarships, which are fully funded to the Indo-Pacific region annually, NCP mobilities for short-term mobility projects through to a semester length as well. But there's a number of different ways you can engage through the different areas at our Global Partnerships division, and we encourage you to connect with us. I've provided here, which you can peruse at your leisure, some quick links to the Global Engagement Framework, the different units, the different teams within my area, Global Partnerships, and down the bottom also our funding scheme. The next seed funding scheme managed by my team will open this December and close in February. And we encourage you to apply if you haven't ever done so. If you've got a great new idea, we'd love to read your application, and thank you very much.
No, I just need the clicker. Can you hear me? Excellent. So my name is Nimrod Kleiman. I'm head of entrepreneurship here at the University of Queensland. I'm responsible of all the entrepreneurship programs, which are extracurriculars. So saying that, I'm going to focus today about our startup or global startup adventure, which is a program that we started in 2016, and I think one of our signature programs. Checking with other universities, I think we are the only university in Australia, and please feel free to challenge me, that we offer this type of global experience. So we are talking about 4 weeks internship with startups around the world, where the ecosystem is more mature than Australia or Brisbane. Okay, that's a picture from Shanghai. Saying that, we are offering the full package. We are offering the flight, accommodation, we give the students stipend money, we sometimes cover the visa, and we match the startups, which sometimes it's a really hard work. And we provide on top of that workshop in country, and we create plenty of events. And all of that paid by the university, which is absolutely amazing. Other universities, they do offer study tours, but I haven't seen an internship program like that. And most of the time, students have to pay for the program. So that's the countries that we cover. So the first destination that we started with was China, Shanghai. That was in 2016. That was our pilot. The pilot was very successful. From there, we expanded and we started to send students to Tel Aviv. We were meant to send students in 1 month's time, and that was totally canceled. And I'm very lucky that's what's happened now and not when I will be there with the students. So that was quite fortunate in this aspect. Then we started to send students to San Francisco and Singapore. Now, our latest destination, new destination, it's Vietnam, where we are sending in 3 weeks, 15 students. The question is, do you know why this destination? Any idea? Beside Vietnam, why China, Tel Aviv, San Francisco, and Singapore? So the reason is, thank you. I know that you don't know the answer. The reason is like we just follow the federal government that in 2016 opened 5 landing pads around the world to support startups to expand globally. So they opened in San Francisco. We started to send students to San Francisco. They opened one in Tel Aviv. We sent students to Tel Aviv, one in Shanghai, one in Singapore. And the only place that we didn't send was Berlin, because we were not familiar with the ecosystem there, but maybe in the future. Vietnam, we've been running a project last year and we saw like there is a totally transformation of the economy with plenty of opportunities for entrepreneurs, and we decided to open Vietnam as a new destination. Saying that, since we started in 2016, we had 367 students and keep counting, okay, which is an amazing number of students, very challenging and a little bit stressful. We have 1 month students, on all these destinations, and we are responsible for them. We haven't lost any students so far, and we, working on keeping this good track record. Okay, so which students are participating? Okay, and this picture is amazing because it reflects exactly the students that we want to take with us. Students that they are not afraid to try new stuff. And you can see this was again from Shanghai. Daniel, I think, was a software engineer. He tried every food possible in Shanghai. This piece of chicken leg was disgusting, I can tell you, but he tried. And that's what we want. The programs, again, as I mentioned, are open to everyone in the university. We do have a balance of all the faculties. Majority of the students come from business, then we have engineering, but we do have representation from us, apps, science, and medicine as well. So what we look from the students, again, first, it's to be engaged with ecosystems and entrepreneurship. Second, have this open mind attitude, like they are going there to learn as much as possible, not only about entrepreneurship, but also about the local culture, okay? And it's great. Students ask me which one is my favorite destination, and my favorite destination, it's always China, because it's the one that is totally different. If you want to build resiliency, if you want to learn about other cultures, China, it's the place. Singapore, we call it South Asia, light South Asia. San Francisco, it's very easy. Tel Aviv, it's easy. And China, literally, for students that they never travel overseas, or they had a little bit of exposure in Europe or UK, China, it's a eye-opener experience. So outcomes, okay? And I found this picture which reflect one of the best consolidation outcomes of students that came to the program. So what I personally noticed, students are first more mature after the program. They're more resilient. They start to think globally. They start to understand that the world is a bit bigger than Brisbane. And here, I don't know if I can point, but I can show you, like for the people in the audience, I don't know if the people online can see. Let's see if there is a laser here. Oh, yes. So Alex Bell, so now he's running a distillery. He runs a Milton Rum distillery, rum. Okay, so if you go to Dan Murphy or one of this liquor shop, and you can see Milton Distillery Rum, you know that the startup started when he was in China. This is where he pitched for the first time. Body, he decided to go and literally when he finished the degree, packed his luggage, went to San Francisco and got a job with a startup. He's working with a startup called OpenAir, not OpenAI, where he is a pilot for flying electrical cars, backed up by one of the Google founders. So one second. So again, then we have Jonathan Baxter. Jonathan Baxter is running a startup in Singapore. He developed some peptides to replace antibiotics for animal farming. He has 15 PhDs working in his company. I think the company is already valued like around 20 million, and he got all the confidence through these experiences. So I have Michael Mercedes. He's running a social impact, not a commercial impact. He's based in Sydney, backed up by AMP. So I finish here. I have plenty of stories, literally, like there are so many stories because the program, it's induced to...
不错不错。
So I will finish here and then happy to answer any question. Thank you.
So hi everyone. I will just verify something that Nimrod said was China's where it's at. I spent 6 months in China studying and doing a little bit of volunteer work with a primary school there. So if anyone knows firsthand what it's like and immersing yourself in that culture, 100% agree with you on that. Okay, so Michaela Costello sends her apologies. She's been caught up with another meeting this afternoon. Michaela is who I report into. So she's our Chief Community Engagement Officer, and I'm the manager of the International Alumni Engagement Portfolio. So alumni engagement sits within the advancement portfolio, which is led by Jen Carlson. So she's our Vice President of Advancement and Community Engagement. And then that portfolio reports up to the Vice Chancellor. So within the alumni engagement portfolio, it's broken up into 2 areas. So we've got our alumni programs, which is led by Catherine Cow. And we've segmented our alumni community into 3 segments. So if anyone knows, hang on, this one, we have over 330,000 alumni globally, and I certainly can't do that on my own. Or even just my team alone. So we've segmented our community into 3 segments. Our young, which is 35 and under, looking to change that though now, because obviously it's not quite young per se. We've got our career, which is 35 to 55, and then we've got our friends, which is our older alumni demographic, so 55 plus. What we do know, so from that, so that's one part of the portfolio, and then the other part is the international alumni engagement, which is where what I head up. And the reason we've segmented it is 1, it's very large, but also 2, we're wanting to really dive deeper into how we're supporting our alumni, internationally. So about 80% of our alumni community are here in Australia, but there's still that 20% that's overseas. And what we identified before I came in was that we weren't really supporting them. We weren't really doing much. They didn't feel the love of UQ. They didn't really have that connection. So I came along. What we have now is 84% of our alumni community are contactable, which is incredible. That's certainly an increase from where it was. And they're our main communities on that map there, which I'll dive into a little bit more. I can't go back. Oh, I can go back. I'm going to quickly go back. So what I oversee, and with the support of my team, so I oversee the Changemakers program. So that's both our peer-to-peer alumni platform, which we just launched last year. I also oversee the Changemakers, the flagship event series, which we run 3 to 4 times a year. And they're predominantly led by academic experts, as well as our industry alumni leaders. as well. I also oversee the UQ Brisbane City venue, so the atrium, which is downstairs, the beautiful heritage space. So my team look at the programming of the atrium and what new and exciting things we can bring into that space, and how we're again connecting our students in with our alumni, who are majority are here in Brisbane in the CBD. We also have 10 established alumni networks. So by established means that they're a bit more formal. So they've got a committee. They are in these regions here. So Hong Kong, China, Singapore, Indonesia, Vietnam, US, UK, and Chile is another one that's just recently formed. And we're just about to launch a committee, or a bit more of an established committee in Japan. We've got a very keen and eager alumnus over there. What else do I do? I think that's pretty much it, plus a whole lot of other things. So that just gives you a little bit of perspective on how the alumni engagement portfolio is split up, and specifically what I look after from that international engagement side of things. So what have we achieved to date? Well, we've come a long way. We have, over the last few years, really looked into how and like identifying who our alumni volunteers are, and who's ready to support us in their particular regions. So back in 2021, so before I started, we had about 200 or so alumni volunteers, and now we've got 600 plus alumni ambassadors across the globe, which is just incredible. They're all ready to support us as a university. They're supporting our senior executive missions. They're supporting all the work that the other areas across the university are doing, especially in ventures. We've had a number of key collaborations there with alumni meeting and greeting our current students. And we also do an incredible amount of work with future students, international, when students are, or prospective students are trying to decide whether or not they're going to come to the university or not. We have, like I said, 10 established alumni-led networks. And we run an event series called Global Connections, which is another project within the portfolio, and this is our biggest one. It first started in Bell. So Bell kind of started off Global Connections, which is our social networking event series. We run it 3 times a year, usually March, August, and October, November, depending on where they are in the world. And this happens the same time every year, each time of the year. So around the globe, everyone is having a Global Connections event, which is pretty cool. And there's some of the recent Global Connection events that we had. And all those happy smiley faces, about 5 of them were brand new, as in 5 cities. We've gone from having 15 Global Connection cities from Bell to now having 40 plus. So everyone wants to get involved with having those Global Connection events. And we've had about 1,500 plus alumni partners and community join us this year. As I said earlier, we've launched UQ Changemakers, which is our peer-to-peer platform. And on this platform, we have job opportunities, exclusive event access. We have groups that are geographical, special interest, and industry-led. But it really is their first point of contact. When they graduate from the university, they jump onto the platform, they're getting connected straight away. They might have internship opportunities on the platform that they can apply for, but immediately they're making those connections with alumni around the globe. And to date, in the year that we've had it launched, we've had over 11,000 alumni partners and community join that platform, and that just continues to grow each month, which is incredible. So what can we all do as staff of the university? Well, you can join us to become an staff ambassador, and we're looking to address 5 things over the next couple of years. The first one being driving growth and fostering industry partnerships to continue to build the Changemakers brand globally. And that's that, the connectivity, harnessing the power of our alumni community on that global scale. We want to increase and transform international connectivity and reach. produce unique and valuable content for specific cohorts and locations. So what is happening in Singapore? What is happening in China? And how can we, connect the dots and support the work that they're doing and our alumni community are wanting to do in those particular regions as well. Developing that affinity among current and future students, specifically via mentoring. And we're going to be doing that through UQ Changemakers, but also more extensively beyond that as well, just in that, peer-to-peer kind of work. And then the last one is celebrating, acknowledging and sharing stories of our alumni. And this is what we don't do very well at. What we don't do well at, and we need to improve. So we're really wanting to collect those stories. So if you're hearing things on the ground that are happening, I know Nimrod constantly sends us some new and exciting stories that he hears when he's on the ground. That's the sort of content that we want. And we want to be able to share that through our Contact magazine, online through our socials, but also, through our various newsletters and other communication channels as well. So we want those stories. We want to be interviewing more of our alumni so we can share that with our prospective students, but also with our current students here. That's all from me. Thank you.
Keep the microphone from me. I'll take the clicker. There we go. What the name is here. Okay. Thank you. First of all, 2 words. Thank you. Let me follow that up by saying that I'm exhausted. I'm actually overwhelmed. I knew what you were going to say because I've seen the slides, but I am rather overwhelmed by the amount of opportunities that we all have. So if currently you're listening, or you're here and you're listening and you're saying, well, I guess I could do more. I think you got about 2,573 new ideas. In the interest of time, go ahead and scan the QR code. It's a simple feedback form. While you do that, and that's highly appreciated, I'm going to ask for reflections. So have a think about what you would like to say in relation to what you just heard before you do. Angie, I know. Give me just 35 seconds. When I think of our students, our graduates, and I have to tie it back to these suitcases, I think of them as voyagers. I think that's a pretty cool term. They're all voyagers. They might not go on a boat. They might go on planes and trains and whatnot, but they're voyagers. They're gonna go places, figuratively and literally. And as it turns out, I think there's opportunities for our staff to also do that, particularly through our global partnerships unit there. Again, so it becomes quite overwhelming to say, well, I've got these opportunities. Why are we not jumping at it, knowing what we now know about what the world actually looks like, and that we're a very small percentage of people. So that's where I'm going to leave it at. I don't know if you have any immediate thoughts, ideas, reflections, or just words of thanks to our panelists. Angie, there you go. Off you go. There we go. Well, oh yeah,
No, you
of
have
course.
to, because they're online.
Put that back.
Okay, I'm doing this just for my colleagues online. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Dr. Angie Nags. I'm from the School of Languages and Cultures. And I'm here repping for our school because everyone's everywhere else at the moment other than at UQ. But I know that my boss and dear colleague, Professor Greg Hinge, would put up his hand and say, the necessary passport to unlocking the absolute value of any of these experiences is intercultural communication, intercultural capabilities, and language. And I really wanted to just kind of step it up and say, did you know that students in every single degree program other than medicine can take our concurrent diploma in one of our 11 languages, which means that they can get that diploma at the same time as studying anything else. And it unlocks, if you have a look at our exchange programs, it unlocks 75% additional opportunities if you are able to speak the language of your destination for your exchange or your activity or experience. And what that means, for example, and I use this as an example for my students all the time, is a number of our partner universities for exchange programs in Japan and Korea and China prefer students to take language intensive courses only if you go there, unless you have been studying language with us, and our language teachers can confirm your level. And at which case, then you are able to take in-language courses in the area of your interest. And that's really exciting because that's when you get to go and do the Japanese pottery class of your dreams, or your biochemical engineering course in France that you have your eye on because it's the best in the world. And so I always talk about language as the education of language is the ultimate employability, because it takes away unnecessary boundaries to your true value proposition when trying to communicate the value of what you have done in your global experience. So just really come back to that. In Australia, for the very first time in 2022 and 2023, our year 12 language students, so ATARs in language, dropped below 10%, which means that our students are not coming to us with serviceable language skills. We cannot expect them to have done that already. They don't come prepackaged. And so if we really want to build our reputation of having globally mobile students, we need to have students who are also adept in language and cultural capabilities.
Brilliant. Thank you.
If anyone sees Greg, tell them I did a good job.
Excellent. So this is recorded, so we've got evidence. Anyone want to reflect on that comment? Nimrod, there we go. Here you go. The microphone's yours.
No, I think you're totally right. And I think like if we want to produce global leaders, they need to know and speak more than English. So absolutely. So in the past, just to let you know, like, for example, when I started in the Faculty of Engineering, they didn't organize classes in Chinese for everyone in the faculty. And that was great. And it was really helpful. Like to know even the basic wording when you go to a country opens so many doors. Like it's an icebreaker straight away. And then you start the engagement. So when we send students overseas, like in the past when we used to go to China, we used to give them at least 6 to 8 Chinese lessons. Now, when we go into Vietnam, we need to start to think about how we can introduce few words so they are prepared. So I think it's spot on, and the fact that it's here on campus and it's so available and accessible, it's pretty silly not to use this opportunity.
Another thing that I think is really important about learning languages is it's not just the languages that you're learning. You're learning the fact that words mean different things, and some things can't be described in the same way or described in different ways. So you're actually learning how to view the world differently, completely. The other thing that I would say in amongst that is some people, not me because I'm a philosopher, some people might say, yeah, but it's all about STEM and technology. Like if you want to learn computer coding, you need to learn a new language. So the unlearning of your way of thinking and learning a different way of describing actually is necessary. So I would say 100% any kind of language that you can learn, if you got the opportunity to, you should 100% do it, because it's not just that language you're learning. It's how to view the world and how to unlearn what's already in your brain that you haven't noticed is there and that may be holding you back.
Brilliant. Any other reflections from our audience online? Please let us know if you want to weigh in.
Also, I'm very pleased when you went back to your languages at the beginning that, you know, the 60% that speak 70,000 languages. I'm one of those because I speak Welsh. Very few people speak that.
Thanks for sharing that with us.
I speak on
They are, it's more synergy. Tyler, over to you. I'll run it. There we go. Thanks, Stephen.
Question online that's probably more directly related.
Let's see what's happening here. Will the language course be further enhanced with AI tools in the near future? Well, I know I won't be answering that. There goes Angie. Thank you.
Yes. In fact, did you know, a little known fact, that almost all AI tools right now have had their genesis in applied linguistics and linguistics, right? An AI can't be intelligent without natural language learning and language knowledge. And so, in fact, not only will our language courses be enhanced with AI tools, our students are ahead of the pack because they have been working in that space in and amongst AI and the development of AI for the last decade, if not longer. All of our students at UQ, our language students, were hit first by Google Translate. And so, yes, absolutely. Not only will our training will be encompassing it, and informed by it, but it will also make it better. Brilliant.
So my question is actually about staff. I like that the last speaker talked a little bit about what staff can do to get involved. Maybe I'll frame this in terms of a concrete example. We've got a new 2+2 arrangement with a school in Vietnam that we're starting next year. And as part of that, we're actually sending our academics to Vietnam to teach courses. And so in a similar vein, what opportunities are there for us to get our staff engaged in the pre-learning step to prepare them for what they're going to experience overseas?
I'm going to be so rude and also say that we have someone in the room, Ashley Foxford, who's the Global Mobility Manager at UQ. So she might also be weighing in to this conversation. If you haven't met her, you will need to meet her, and vice versa. So Ashley, if you'd like to comment, and then of course we'll throw it back to our presenters. Go for it.
Well, firstly, thank you for having me here today. It's been really informative hearing about some of the global partnerships that we're forging and growing. Yes, so global mobility and staff movement is definitely a hot topic at the moment. Looking and with international working coming online and what that looks like, making sure that we've obviously got the necessary compliance in place to support our staff working abroad is definitely something that we're looking into right now. There's certain conversations that are happening. There's been a range of consultation that's happening, and I'll definitely say that if you are looking at moving abroad or going to work in another location, feel free to reach out to the Global Mobility team in the Human Resource Department. We can certainly support you and some of your staff as you want to move internationally.
Good. Yes. Thank you very much, Ashley. There we are. All yours.
The other thing I'll say, and this is a plug for tomorrow as well in the NCP funding has an admin element. So if you are an academic and you want to set up a study tour to Vietnam or wherever, and you speak to Tamara to make sure that there's the connection through to the right kind of countries and all that kind of stuff, you can establish a course that's full credit where the students can go and do an internship or a study tour or whatever, and you can go with them, because there is an admin fee that goes with that. Also separately, this is, if you have the ability to do these things, it's great. We're sending a study tour with 2 of my team are going to Taiwan with the VC scholars on a study tour. Same kind of deal that we've gone, there's an opportunity here to take a group of students in country to have that experience, and that's where you can go along as a staff member. So just think a bit creatively about chatting to Tamara about what is available and what's there, and how can we hook in either the students actually going and doing that study tour and you go with them, or if it's for professional staff. I know that we sent one of our staff to TUM it was a professional staff. I don't know if it was Erasmus, but anyhow, we sent somebody to TUM. Anyhow, that was good. And to QX, yeah. So there are definitely opportunities there to do that.
Brilliant.
Just really quickly, noticing the time is getting away from us. I also just wanted to have a plug from alumni perspective as well. We have alumni on the ground that are really keen to support staff, students, absolutely anyone and everyone who comes to their countries. So if you're going to a particular country or a particular city and want some support on the ground, our alumni are there to help. And they really want to be those tour guides and support you. So please reach out and I can put you in contact with them.
Amazing. Phenomenal. Thank you. See you around campus.